What's up to all you wonderful people, and welcome back here to the Gaming Year series, where we're going to dive into another rabbit hole today. I literally decided to take a new rabbit hole and dive in it, like literally, into this dungeon travel system. Here we go. As always, I would like to encourage you to subscribe to the channel, click the bell, and smash that like button so you don't miss any future notifications. And for those interested in game development, following projects like this one, or if you're looking for a gaming community where we have fun, faith, and fellowship, I'd like to invite you to join the Gatlin Alliance on Discord. You'll find everything you need to get started down in the description below. In the last episode, I covered the auto run system. A full tutorial was not my original plan, especially for this series. But I decided to, because for one, it's as much for me as it is for the viewer. You see, by documenting it, I had to rebuild it a second time, which refreshes my memory on another level on how I built it. And when I put it on video, I was able to show 3 different ways to set it up. And so I always have that content to fall back on if I ever need to. I looked and I could not find a one video for all that information, so I chose to just make a video out of it. And so anyway, as I moved away from that, moved to the next episode with Neal over at Numen Brothers, I found myself going down another rabbit hole, right? So he started to implement a travel point, if you will, into the level where you can go from one level to the other. And I may still use what he used there. I don't know for sure yet. But as I was in the middle of producing that, following his tutorial, I thought to myself, you know what? How cool would it be if I could create an instance, a portal, like what you see in World of Warcraft or New World Eternum or any other game that you play? Whenever you show up to the instance for the dungeon and got to walk through it, and then it brings you on the other side. Usually there's a loading screen, right? Now, I didn't get so far as the loading screen, but I did get far enough to create an actual portal. I found myself creating something similar to what Neal was creating over at Numen Brothers, but yet different. It's a different style portal. Some of the things I reused that he had, but I had to actually do some research and find some other features to make this work, including bringing in some different things into the project. All right, so a few things here. I actually had to create a game instance. That's what this is here. All right, this is the game instance. I had to create a spawn point tag for that. I had to actually link it inside project settings under game instance. This is my game instance class, GI main. Now, I created just a normal instance and a return. I didn't actually need the return instance. All I need is this one here to make this work. I don't know if I'll need this one or not. You know, this is still a ongoing process. So I had to bring in a border for my portal. But before I did that, I had to create a material, and that's what this is here. I had to create this material, and I had to research on how to do this. Got the intensity, the opacity, the edge glow, the fade distance, and different things here. Tile and so on and so forth. I'm not getting into everything here. I'm just showing you more or less. This is the material instance with the edge glow, the fade distance, the opacity, the tile, the tray. Now I had to actually go into Fab, and you can go to Window and you can go to Fab up here. And I had to find myself an actual asset, right? Portal, gate, for example. You got different gates up here that you can buy. You know, there's actually what looks like a Stargate kind of, sort of. Right, here's this one's $1.99, for example. You can buy them. You can find something for free. You know, go up here, look for price, only show free products. We could just type in gate, see what comes up, and check mark that. Like, for example, this one's $3 right now. This would make a really awesome looking dungeon gate, and you can build something around it. So what I found was this asset here, which is located in my Fab folder. under desert stone. This is the material, the static mesh. As you can see, this is the static mesh. Okay. And of course the texture. And what I did was I went to my blueprints under portals. I created a new blueprint class, and all of this here is what came of that. One other thing that I had to do was go up here to this icon here and come down to my game mode and edit the platforming game mode. And this is where I had to add in the choose player start. And I had to set all this stuff up in here along with my spawn point tag. If I come back down here, I open this up as well. This is, again, the portal instance. We're back in the portal instance here. And I also had to set up an SP tag and a level name. These are all the things that I had to set up to be able to create this portal system. And this is quite an in-depth system. So I'm not going to go into all the details, but I am going to at least start with the first portal and cover a few things. I put myself a portal trigger in here, and I had to come in here and add a box collision into this here. And then I added my archway and my cylinder. I had to redo all this because before, through the tutorial series that I've been watching for this, they used a different collision component. If you look up collision, they were using a capsule collision. I wanted to use a box collision because I want to make more of a portal style. So same concept, you know, I came in here and I had to go to add collision function. This is where I got this box here, right? So obviously that's a cylinder. So you want to make sure that you've got portal trigger highlighted. Then I came up in here, got my collision, got my overlap. Went to construction script, the set collision volume from the original tutorial I was watching, and I erased everything and I added the set box extent 75, 25, 120, and then saved that, compile and save. I also had to go into my archway. I had to go into my static mesh, and I had to come down here and change the collision on this right here, the collision complexity. I had to change it to use complex collision as simple. Once I did that, I saved it. I made my own portal material here. And I had to come back over here to the cylinder. I had to make sure that the collision on the cylinder had no collision. I had to make sure that the archway had block all dynamic. This way, the collision works properly so we don't run through the wall part of the portal, but we can run through the portal, right? That's the idea there. So coming out of this into the cast to BP platforming character into the open level, other actor to object, and then of course the level name. Make sure that you have to make sure you put the right level name in here for the level. And of course for the level, you know, we actually have another level up here for this. So if I go up here, I go to open level. I have another level under my platforming. I actually have level 1 and level 2. So I'm using my level 2. This is level 2 right here, right? Now the only thing I'm going to do here real quick, and this is why I'm probably dropping out of the sky like Chingy Chong here. I'm going to fix that real quick. That way I'm not jumping out of the sky like King Kong or whatever you want to call it. So we're going to go back to my other level. I'm going to go open level again. We're going to go back to variant platforming and go into the current level that I'm in. So, all right, we're just going to play this. So when we come out here, voila, I'm in a new level. I'm in my dungeon, if you want to call it that. At this point, I thought everything was working exactly as planned. The portal was taking me to the correct level. But during testing, I quickly discovered there was one more issue to solve. The trigger area wasn't behaving the way I expected, so I had to go back, do a little more experimenting, and figure out what was causing the problem. I had to resize the portal trigger. That was my issue originally. I had to take the archway and I had to set it off of the portal trigger. I had to set the cylinder off the portal trigger. And then I went into the portal trigger and I had to literally size the portal trigger to the numbers you have here. 0.1, 15, and 2.9. It wasn't working because it was real small. So obviously I wasn't hitting the portal properly. So once I did that, I dropped my cylinder back on here. I dropped my archway on here. We have that in there, compile, save. And now when we go play, replay. Now then, one of the things that you notice is there's no way to get back from where we were at. There's no portal outro, so to speak, right? What I have to do is go into my variant platforming. I know this is the level that I'm on. I have these other levels, and I can open up this level here. I can also go up here to open up the level. And what I had to do was I had to come in here and add the portal into this level, right? So in my blueprints, in my portals, I had to literally just drag and drop one of these in there and then adjust it. Now this is already built. I also had to set certain players. These players, this is the spawn point for when we come in from the dungeon. So on this is where the SP tag and everything comes in. The player start tag is set to dungeon. And then on the actual portal itself, the SP tag is set to dungeon. But the level name on the dungeon, on the instance portal, is level platforming, because this one is supposed to take us back to the main location, right? The main level. So I'm deleting that out of there. And so this takes us back to the main level. Now, if we go back to our main level under variant platforming, level platforming, and we take a look at our dungeon portal here, it's got the SP of dungeon as well, the SP tag for dungeon. And then the level name is level dungeon 01. So I had to put the level name in this portal because we're leaving the main location and going to the other level, the dungeon level, if you will. If we want to call the dungeon, you can call this whatever you want. Now, these tags can only be used on a level one time. So if I wanted another portal on this level, it has to go by a different tag name. And so when we play and we go through that dungeon, that instance level, it brings us here. We drop out into the water. It respawns us in the center because that tag was set to none. And if we go back through here, since the tag is set to dungeon, we come back to the main level. And that's how we got that. Now then, I went a little further and I set up a different level for what we could call a village. It's nightfall over here right now. Now, can I change these tags into whatever I want? Yeah, it depends on what these levels are going to be. And so I just thought that was really interesting to be able to set something like that up. Now, I spoke of a different style portal, and that's that one over there. And it respawned me over there because this one's not set with my system. That's a different system. So it's just spawning almost anywhere and everywhere. And that might be the system that I choose to use. And the reason I want to bring that up is because this whole thing led me to a different direction for a travel system. With the creation of these portals, I started to realize that when we drop in the water and we respawn at the start point, that's a different travel system. The style of portal that was created by Neal over at Numen Brothers is another type of travel system, kind of like how in New World Eternum you could use a fast travel. Those remind me of that. Even these portal instances that I created, I can change them from being up and down to being like flat, and I can make them invisible. And so I could put them as a platform. I can actually put an invisible layer on top of a platform and turn that into a instance where you would travel from one level to another. So this really quickly started to make me realize that this is not just some dynamic dungeon travel system, that this is an overall travel level system beyond the scope of what I could actually build. And I'm like, okay, this deserves its own project. This deserves its own lab. We could go as far as creating a kill switch, so whenever you die on a level from a boss fight, you respawn at said respawn, say the graveyard or whatever, right? Just like you got in World of Warcraft, you die, or New World Eternum, you die, you respawn at a graveyard, and then you have to run back. Now, I mean, we could take this into many different directions, but the main thing is it has become a TravelLabs project. And so I found myself creating a completely new project called TravelLabs. And you can see it here in my folders. I'm going to bring it up. And it's basically just a complete version of what I was showing you in Game of the Year, but it's got its own destination for the project now under GG_TravelLabs. And finally, I'd like to take a moment to give a shout out to Neal over at Numen Brothers. His Unreal Engine tutorials have been a tremendous help throughout my game development journey, and I truly appreciate the time and effort he puts into creating them. If you're interested in learning an Unreal Engine or you're thinking about building your own game, I highly recommend checking out the Numen Brothers YouTube channel. Neal has created an excellent collection of tutorials that can help you get started and continue growing as a game developer. You'll find a link to the Numen Brothers YouTube channel down in the description below. And now, if you'd like to continue following this Game of the Year journey, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you don't miss any future content. Also, if you're interested in game development, enjoy behind-the-scenes content, would like to follow the development of this project, or become part of a community where we have fun, faith, and fellowship, I invite you to join us in the Gatlin Alliance on Discord. You'll find everything you need down in the description below. And with that, we've reached the end of yet another step in this Game of the Year journey, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in and watching this video. Building this dungeon travel system gave me another opportunity to improve the project while introducing TravelLabs as another individual development lab before we continue moving forward. Next time, we'll return to Neal's roadmap as we build a projectile system and bring it to life using animation montages. Until then, take care, God bless, and I'll see you in the next grand adventure.